All right, Ian, we're going to start this main topic with the Game Awards.
I mean, I'm not
really
talking about the Game Awards, but I am going to talk about probably the bigger
reveal.
The big announcement from the Game Awards was they finally did the reveal of the Xbox Series X.
Xbox Series X.
And
okay?
we'll get a little bit more into that in a second. So Microsoft announces the new Xbox. And they did give some of the components under the hood. So there's going to be an 8-core targeting around 3.5 gigahertz, custom processor, 12 teraflops, 13 gigabytes for RAM, or 3 gigabytes of RAM for games, 13 gigabytes of RAM for games, 3 gigabytes for the operating system, and the storage is going to be solid state.
And a custom GPU built on the AMD RDNA architecture, which I have no idea what that means. The biggest thing, obviously, solid state, we talked about before. That means you're going to load up games quicker. Games will be smaller because you can access information quicker. You don't have to repeat information on the hard drive. That's cool stuff. And then, obviously, you're going to have the ray tracing, I guess, going on. I mean, when I look at all these specs, I'm like, okay, computer specs, that's fantastic. You know, you can get a 3.5 gigahertz chip on a computer nowadays, but we're going to put it in our console. That's cool.
Microsoft announced that thousands of your favorite games across 4 generations of gaming will be available on the Series X. It's not going to be, I doubt it will be 100% backwards compatible, but Microsoft has been good about working on making backwards compatibility a focus, which I love. It's great.
Well, I mean that every Xbox original game I'll be able to put in, I'll be able to play. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's great, though.
You can't do that on the Xbox One. And when I was, even like 3-4 years ago when I was playing more games, if the backwards compatibility wasn't close to 100%, I sometimes didn't see the point because I would still want, if I'm going to have that the old system hooked up for games anyways, my thinking is, well, I'm just going to play them on the old system. But I don't know. I play less now, and just having the ability and the accessibility, what Microsoft does with their backwards compatibility is a really nice selling point, and it ensures that people who buy these systems day one have something to do. They can play their old games on it, see if there's a graphic boost or whatever. You know, it does tidy things up a little bit, and especially in the living room. So I really do applaud Microsoft for always being kind of, always pushing the backwards compatibility and kind of making sure it's there. And they're still doing that here. So with how this is being released, though, I have a feeling that we're going to see, I don't know if it'll be yearly, but I have a feeling we're going to see probably more versions of the Xbox Series
every 2 years,
X.
I'll say.
Every 2. That's what I was thinking.
The same way it's been with the Xbox One, just about.
The Xbox,
with the S and One X, yeah.
Yeah, the Xbox One had the One, the S, and the X. The S was less of it was smaller and quieter. There was, I believe it added HDR support.
Yes, that was a big thing with that.
So they did add something.
Yes.
I think we will probably start seeing, I think Microsoft is really very much going to start treating this like a home gaming computer. I have a feeling that, yes, every 2 years. And I as much as I hate this name, and I'm going to get to that in a second, I think they're setting themselves up to be in a position where the big console reveal isn't really something you do. I have a feeling it's going to be, for Microsoft at least, I have a feeling it's going to be incremental updates. I don't know that we're going to see another...
This is I think we just said, like, this is the last. This is it. Like, you're not going to have these big divisions anymore. It's over on these consoles. It's going to be like incremental updates going forward. And that's it. Just like computers. And it's going to be probably where, all right, say I bought a piece of software in 2020. That might work for like 7-8 years on these different iterations. It'll just be weaker and weaker, just like a computer. You can still play games that are new on a crappy computer, but it'll be like less frames. It'll look, the settings will be lower, but you can still play it. I can see the same exact thing happening here.
It's an interesting idea. I think I think it's a fine line for them to balance, though, because if it goes to computer, then people are going to go computer.
To me, it's just like okay. an Android phone versus an iPhone. An iPhone has a glossy interface. You don't have to worry about anything. So people like the iPhone
Sure.
versus the Android. That's the same thing to me. It's like, yeah, you can play it on a PC, but then you got to worry about everything else on a PC and malware and antivirus, versus having a dedicated computer console for your TV.
I'm just saying
it's just simplistic.
What remains to be seen is how compatibility will be, how well games later on will work on earlier systems.
Sure.
All I'm saying is it's a fine line, because if you get to the point again where people are like, well, will this run on my X, Y, or Z?
You're right. What's the point?
What's the point? And then I feel like that would end up giving the edge to, back to Sony or Nintendo. Well, we don't exactly know what Sony's going to do, but it could give the edge back to Sony or Nintendo, or again, a company that's okay with things looking outdated for a few years, as long as everything plays on it and everything works fine. But I'm not anti this. I'm very curious.
So you're worried about confusion of the software once you have 3 different versions of the console.
Right, exactly. And we don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, with the One X, with the Xbox One, you can still play on all 3, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So I don't see why there'd be any big difference with it.
Well, that's the whole point of what I'm saying is I think they're looking to change sort of how they
market it,
how they do this.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
We don't know if it's gonna be upgradable. Maybe you can swap in a new GPU. I mean, if you look at it, it's a mini tower. The shape. I actually love how it looks.
People have been making fun of it. I like how it looks.
It's a game rectangle. It's how a mini tower looks.
It's a game rectangle?
It's not a game cube. It's a game rectangle. It's not a cube because one side's longer than the other. Not a rectangle. What is it? It's a trapezoid. Whatever the fuck it is.
So, yeah, I actually think it looks kind of nice.
I don't think... What do you want a game console... Is the look of the game console that important anymore? Like, I guess if you want it as an ornament by your TV or by your sound system, like, it looks fine. It looks like a subwoofer. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it does. It looks like
and you have the ventilation on the top, which is smart.
A black monolithic
heat rises,
box.
Right?
I don't like how the drives on the side for optical media is almost always a bad idea. Always a bad idea.
Unless it's one of those ones you just push it and not have a tray.
Oh, it doesn't matter if it's a tray or not. It's still... Well, yeah, you're right. It always seems to scratch up discs.
Because remember they had those CD-ROMs where you just pushed them in?
Yeah.
And versus the anyway, I'm not concerned about that. Controller, it's an Xbox controller. I mean, like, at this point, what are you going to do with an Xbox controller? It's an Xbox controller.
I usually end up with Sony consoles, usually based on exclusivity. Like the PS4 got me with its fighting game exclusivity and stuff. But I will say I like the Microsoft controller far better than I like the Sony controller in terms of how it holds. This is going back to a circular D-pad though, and I fucking hate circular D-pads.
Well, it's like an indented circle around. Didn't they just have
they're dog shit.
Wasn't the Xbox controller a regular cross pad finally?
The Xbox One?
With a dial that you can make it a regular D-pad?
The Xbox 360 had a flippy-do version that was great.
A flippy-do version.
Because the 360 D-pad is like my least favorite D-pad.
It's awful.
It's
like a television disc. It's like a disc.
It's miserable.
I remember when I had the 360 and I did play like the Street Fighter on there. I could not do a Hadouken to save my life.
It was a mushy piece of shit.
Yes.
But yeah, it looked a lot better on the Xbox One X.
Yeah, they had a real D-pad.
And now it's back to this circle, and I'm like, no.
Nintendo's D-pad patent's gone. That's been gone for a while.
Yeah,
I think you're allowed to use whatever the hell you want now for a D-pad.
Yeah,
you don't have to try to get around it like what they did with the Genesis and TurboGrafx. Like, you're allowed to do it, and so I don't see why you would ever think that'd be advantageous unless it's something interesting. It's like indented coming out, which is interesting. It's like coming. Maybe they figured out something here.
However, I am going to lean into the fucking naming.
Okay, Ian.
There was a new article that came out. Yesterday morning. The next generation Xbox has a much simpler name than you might think. It's actually just Xbox.
That's from Business Insider. That's not an easier name.
That's not easier.
That's a brand name. It's not an easier name.
So we have this drives me nuts. And this is kind of what I was saying earlier with I think the reason behind it is going forward, Xbox is going to be a name that they try to use like computer. This is a computer game. This is an Xbox game. They want it to be sort of a catch-all term, and that's why I think we're going to see more incremental upgrades. You're going to get the Xbox, G. I don't know, but
Well, they're starting on X. There's not a lot of letters, so you can go from there.
Yeah.
X1, X2, X3, and becomes a movie franchise. I don't know.
however, this is awful for retailers, and I don't know why they think that this is cute or funny or even it's not stylistically awesome. It just sucks. This is going to create a lot of fucking trouble for retailers, for parents, for people who are just getting into games, especially places like Luna, where we do, two locations, Chula Vista, La Mesa, where we do, older hardware generations. I want an Xbox. Well, what the fuck?
Because now you're going to have 5 to choose from.
I don't think Sony's naming conventions are attractive. I mean, PS1, 2, 3, 4, it's boring, but it's fucking clear.
Yeah.
It's clear. I do still get people every once in a while who come in and they're like, can I get a PlayStation? And I'm like, which one? They're like, oh, the 4 or the 5. But when it's the Xbox, right now it's already hard enough. Can I get an Xbox? An Xbox One. I go and I get an Xbox One. No, the original Xbox.
Well, now it's like, I want a Ford. Well, what type of Ford do you want? What type of car? That's what they're changing it to. That's just what Xbox is coming the car model. Car name, car brand, and the model will be Series X, Series A, Series.
Right. And I don't think that's a good
it's not good for the marketplace.
No, it's not.
It's hard to market.
And going back to what I was saying earlier about, they do run I think the system, I enjoy their controller. I enjoy what they do with their backwards compatibility. I like the fact that they share between, they do crossplay. I don't have any problem with the system. In fact, I'm really waiting to look and see what Sony does before I make a decision. I could go back to Xbox next generation, but really it'll be if fighting games are still exclusive to the PlayStation, then I'll probably stick to Sony. But I could be convinced. I'm not a brand loyalist when it comes to it. I could be convinced to go to Microsoft. But I think in the long run, the naming is going to be problematic, especially if they do incremental upgrades instead of big system releases and things get confusing. It could become very confusing for the consumer. And then, like I said earlier, people are going to go back to the console system that is easy. Instead of having to look up, what if 3 years from launch, there's already, 2 more models on there and there's huge differences between them.
Different colors.
Yeah, I think it does run the risk of being overly complex.
I'm trying to think, I guess if they come out like Series A, would it be a different color or would it be a different shape? Because that could be confusing as well, at that point. Would it be emblazoned, Series X, you know what I mean? How many different shapes are you going to have to differentiate these? If they're basically computers and you're admitting that. You can't go back to the next one looking like an Xbox 360 if this one looks like a mini tower or a tower. It does bring up some issues. I just like the fact that they have the integration of the software playing on Windows 10 as well as the consoles. If they continue that to me is a competitive advantage versus Sony.
Yes, it is
a big one to me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And plus, they have they all have their gaming services. But and
I mean, on top of that, I want to throw
Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass is a fantastic. Yeah. It's a fantastic freaking deal. So Microsoft has a lot going for them, I think, in terms of software this time around. I think they can.
Now you can get that show. MLB The Show is going to be on all the consoles in a couple.
That game
years.
is so good.
See,
but I feel like the hardware thing could leave people confused and I don't know, maybe this is all just a big
versus just saying how PS4, it's like PS4 Pro. They're not fucking around with different series models,
right? Yeah, I'm afraid that this is a sign that Microsoft is going to further confuse what is already starting to become a confusing console landscape.
Well, like I said, it's a computer. We knew that these have been computers for 10 years. These consoles, they're not game consoles anymore. I mean, so. All right, this is coming out holiday season, and you're gonna have the PS5 as well. And what do you think it's gonna cost? $500? Was that what the Xbox One cost when it came out originally? Something like that. So it's not gonna be cheap.
PS4s and Xbox Ones, I think, were $400 when they came out.
You sure about that? For the lower end, smaller hard drive?
I'm pretty sure they were.
The Elite one went for $499 in August 2015. For the original Xbox One, according to this.
Well, it came out in 2013, so...
Okay.
Yeah, the Elite one was the
Oh,
one
it
with
was
the
$400. Launched
Yeah,
June 2014.
because the PS3 launched at 600, and everyone was like,
So-
"That's crazy." So there was a big push to have everything launch at 400 for the new generation.
So the first model was 400 in 2014, and then the Elite
the Elite was just a system that came with
hybrid solid state hard drive. Okay.
It also had a ridiculously expensive controller with it.
So they had a semi upgrade a year after the original release.
The Elite was it was a bundle that came with a extremely expensive controller. The system itself wasn't upgraded. It was the controller.
This article said it had a hybrid solid state hard drive.
They might have put a different that I don't recall. I thought it was literally just the controller. But then the S was like the big
But
slim.
We'll just say then they had 3 or 4 different models in 5 years though.
3, yeah,
If you
truly.
If you don't count
models.
the Elite, okay, that's every other year.
Yeah.
So this is going to continue. You're going to have till the end of time. You're going to have, even when you're still working at Luna Video Games for 20 years, you're going to have 15 different versions of the Xbox for sale.
It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough before you move to Florida and retire. It's gonna be tough. Okay, maybe I'll get grab one of these next year instead of to do my gaming on. Gonna have ray tracing. I don't have a 4K TV though. I'll probably have to get one to take full advantage of it. There.
So.
Anything else to add? We good on this?
Moving on.
Or we're moving on with this. All right.
We're moving on.
By the way, they told the Business Insider the name we're carrying forward to the next generation is simply Xbox.
Great. You've been carrying that name.
The name Xbox Series X allows room for additional consoles in the future. So that's their strategy. They're a car company selling.
But my thing is then call it the Xbox Series. But that's what it's already been. I fucking hate it. It's awful.
They are calling it Series X.
So, moving on.